Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
Welcome to Inside Scoop, Virginia. I'm Bettina Lawton, your host, and we have with us a brand new House of Delegate candidate tonight from the 50th District, which is Prince William County and Manassas City, and his name is Richard Cabellos. Richard, thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Great. Well, I want to find out a little bit about you. I know that you went to the Virginia Commonwealth University,
yes.
And I know that you work out at the Southgate Community Center,
Yes.
which is not far from where I live,
Oh, great.
in Reston. So
Yes.
what else do we need to know about you?
All right. Well, grew up here in Northern Virginia. Grew up in Vienna, actually, Vienna, Virginia, not too far from here. And my parents are originally my dad is from Peru, my mom's from Honduras. And so grew up in a very close-knit family. My parents came to this country about 50 years ago, and they started small businesses in the area. My mom is a hairdresser and cosmetologist, and my dad learned the trade of restaurant ownership. And he later on in his career, he flipped houses. He renovated old houses and sold them. And me and my sister Trisha is an entrepreneur herself. Her and her husband own a couple businesses in the area. And I was actually the first in my family to go to college at VCU. My parents were very humble, had very humble beginnings when they came to the United States. But through a lot of hard work and dedication, they gave the best they could for me and my sister. And they loved education. They wanted only the best for us, and that's why they really struggled. They made me do what I had to do to graduate from college, because I was the first one in the family to graduate from college. I've been with Fairfax County for almost 8 years now. I love being a public servant. Like you said, I'm a director of a community center out in Reston, Virginia. I help youth, teens, and senior citizens, and as diverse as Fairfax County is, I do a lot of ESL classes for families there in the area, and it's a great job. You listen to families, what they're going through and how to help them, and that's something I think I can bring to my district in Manassas. I live in Manassas with my wife and my son, my wife Yolanda, my son Cruz. I couldn't be doing this without them. They're very supportive of the campaign, and yeah, very excited about Manassas, and trying to go back to priorities in government, and that's why I decided to run for government. For a state delegate.
State delegate.
Yeah, for local government.
Well, you've actually gotten some awards. You've had the Outstanding Performance Award from the Fairfax County Park Authority for a multicultural program that you developed. You've also got the A. Heath Onthank Award from the Fairfax County Board of Supervisors for advancing and improving public service in Fairfax County, related to the work that your community center is doing on outreach. So you've had some great success there, and then you have been appointed to the Governor's Virginia Latino Advisory Committee as well. So you've got, not only are you a public servant, you apparently are a very good one.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Recognized all the way up by the governor to be on his advisory commission. So those are all very great accomplishments as well. So.
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, it's truly been an honor to carry my dad's name around with the hard work that they've done to this country. Their American dream when they first came to this country, they didn't expect all this. They wanted just a better life for them, and helping their families back at home. But when they started a family here with my sister and I, that's what they strived for. You're like, if you're going to do something, be good at it. But most importantly, don't forget your humble beginnings. And my dad, he was raised in a very quaint town in the Andes Mountains, and my mom in a very small colonial town in Honduras. It's called Santa Lucia, and my dad's from a town called Mache. And they've been very successful in the United States, and they sacrificed a lot for my sister and me to accomplish our dreams. And that dream 50 years ago was reachable. One of the things I see now, it's a lot of immigrant families and just families in general. American families just struggling, to put food on the table. One of the things why I decided to run for office is, when I talk about education, I like investing in education. Studies have shown, especially early childhood education, studies have shown that if you have early childhood education or people have access to it, children are able to succeed more at school and have a better chance to go to college. You know, our current delegate in my district of the 50th has, voted to take funding away from education. So these are things that I truly care about, and yes, as a public servant in Fairfax County, and just in general, the jobs I've had with nonprofits and working for two governors, actually Mark Warner and Governor Kane, my duty was definitely to make sure that our participants and the residents we work with, have all those opportunities to get ahead in their livelihood. Mm-hmm.
Well, you've also seen some things that you've mentioned about trade and apprenticeship programs as well.
Yeah, one thing, when I talk about jobs, we need to bring more jobs into Virginia. That entails a lot of being inclusive. We want employers to know that their employees, when they come and work for them, that there's no discriminatory laws. Families they want a good quality education. When you bring jobs, you need to have good education, public schools, so parents can send their kids to, but also making sure that transportation is fixed as well. And most importantly is children, young adults who want to prepare for these jobs coming, they should have the education. That means good community colleges or good colleges, and colleges that adults can afford.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is a huge question in Virginia. I read something just this morning in the paper talking about how unaffordable our colleges have become.
Right.
Do you think the state really has a role to play in trying to bring down or control the tuition costs?
Absolutely. I mean, 3 out of 5 kids, young adults, are in our community college system. And every year they keep cutting funds for public schools. It has to be affordable. And that's something, as a state delegate, I'll definitely make sure that we do invest money into our public schools. Yes.
Well, you also mentioned the need, particularly with respect for jobs, about infrastructure and the transportation. We had a big transportation bill come through. What did you think of that?
It was the first time in close to 30 years, Republicans, Democrats, even a Republican governor came together, voted on a bipartisan bill, funding for transportation. That is important, and my current delegate voted against it. These are the things where I talk about common sense. Where is it, parents, families, they want to get to work on time in the morning. They want to be able to come home, take their kids to a ball game, or sit down at a dinner table, and break bread with their children every now and then. Mm-hmm. Those are things that the voters in my district really care about, and the transportation bill was the first step in the right direction.
And it does sort of give one hope that maybe the two sides can work together on big issues.
Absolutely, and when you're part of a team, you know how people complain in Congress, the U.S. Congress, that they can't agree to anything, and that shouldn't be happening in Richmond. We need to start caring more about where our priorities are. And absolutely, also with transportation, a key issue in transportation is also you can bring all the roads that you want, expand roads, but that only brings more cars. So what's important to follow up with that is public transportation. One of the things that we need to also look into is investing in Metro to Prince William County. My district, like I said, is Bristol and Gainesville, and Manassas City. They don't even have public transportation on the weekends. So these are the things that we need to fight for, locally issues. These are what the voters are craving, and that's why I said we need to get back to priorities, we need to get back to common sense.
Well, it'd be interesting to get Metro out into your district, because you're getting it over near where you're working.
Yeah, in Reston,
right?
No, I know Supervisor Hudgens, and she's been working really hard there to get the Reston, and that's bringing new jobs. That's bringing better access to public transportation. More jobs that people in her district can be able to go to DC, go to Arlington with no problems. These are the things that we need to work on. That's common sense. That's making sure that we invest in our residents and in our citizens for our district and the whole Commonwealth.
Well, now you also mentioned in connection with jobs and companies feeling that their employees will be welcomed here.
Yes.
We in Virginia don't really have that reputation at the moment. We have an attorney general who is suing scientists. We've got anti-gay legislation every single session. There's another bill. We've got all the issues affecting women and reproductive rights. Where do you stand on all those kinds of issues?
I stand firm that government shouldn't be in the business of telling a woman what she can or cannot do with her body. These are stark contrasts between me and my current delegate, and they're stuck on some type of ideology and their own personal ideologies. That shouldn't be part of government. When we talk about being inclusive about jobs, you're right, we don't need these discriminatory laws that pass. Employers need to make sure that their employees feel safe and welcomed into the Commonwealth. And yes, I stand firm on marriage equality. I stand firm on respecting individuals, LGBT rights. I mean, being all inclusive. We talked about the current Attorney General. When he was state senator, he tried to pass a bill to ban a different language being spoken in your workplace. These are the type of things that Latino voters need, or other immigrant voters that can vote now should pay attention to, because we're going in the wrong direction. Priorities need to be firm on bringing jobs, making sure we have a high quality education, and fixing our transportation, and being an inclusive Virginia instead of a divided Virginia.
Mm-hmm. One of the things that I also saw that you mentioned someplace was about green economy kind of jobs.
Yeah.
Are you a big fan of the solar power, wind power type thing?
There's a lot of new jobs we can look into, solar, wind, and we get back to education too. If we're going to have these jobs, we need to invest making sure that young adults who go into the colleges are learning these new trades, and that they have the funding to be able to learn those new trades, to find those new jobs. So that is something very important to me. We need, like I said, we need to invest more in new green jobs, but also make sure that our workforce is prepared for that as well.
Well, let me ask you something which is sort of the opposite of green jobs, and that's uranium mining, because I understand that your current delegate is in favor of lifting the moratorium on uranium mining. Where do you stand on that?
And he's they're also one of his biggest donors.
I'm so shocked.
Yeah, shocker there. No, but what's important about that, yes, the environmental impact that will have on where these mines would happen. You need to make sure that the environment is protected. We need to make sure that our waterways are assured. If that was to happen, we definitely have to make sure the safety of the workforce that does do that, but also the most important, the safety and the climate that our children are going to be able to have to live through these things. You know?
Well, that is one of the issues, I think, with the uranium mining. I keep reading that our climate is not conducive to safety.
It's not. It's not, no. And what's more important about that is making sure that our kids have safe water and clean air to breathe.
Exactly. Well, I want to thank you, Richard, for coming. Richard Cabellos.
Thank you.
In the 50th.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. I look forward to your election.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.